Cool, so I'm sitting there and someone sends me this from Anita Sarkeesian. Yeah, that Anita Sarkeesian. Apparently, she wants $35,000 within a month. And if she gets $25,000, she'll set up a Discord server. Now, that was kind of interesting to me because the way I always understood it is that Discord was free. And setting up a Discord server was free, easy, and exceptionally quick. And sure enough, within about 2 minutes of visiting the Discord website, with no real experience, I'd managed to set up a Discord server under the name Feminist Frequency, and it didn't cost $25,000 to do it. And what's she going to do? She gets another $10,000. She's going to cyber visit a school, whatever that means. I don't know, virtually visit a school? And I'm really quite confused there. What are the advantages of cyber visiting a school over actually visiting a school? Plus, isn't that the sort of thing that non-profit organizations are meant to do anyway? Not as a reward for getting an extra $10,000. Now, the second thing here is that Anita's goals seem to have gotten a little diminished of late. I mean, her initial Kickstarter was for $160,000. And to be fair, she actually did something for that. Sure, it was comically bad and hilariously late, but she did something. Her second crowdfunder was for the very poorly received Ordinary Women series, which raised some $200,000. And the videos that she made there were like 5-minute wiki summaries that typically only got viewing figures of around 40, 50,000, that sort of thing. Which seems kind of weak for the actual amount of money spent on these things. Although a cynic might say that Anita, when she takes a step outside the outrage of, but a woman's being trolled online, she's just not that talented or interesting. I mean, hell, just for context, I've also dabbled with historical content because I'm an avid reader of World War II and find it fascinating. And you know what? It's actually fairly well received because it's interesting and a hell of a lot more interesting than a feminist history or herstory. Now she's merely asking for some $35,000. Now, not that $35,000 isn't a lot of money. It's just when you compare her viewing figures for, say, the last 18 or so videos, only 2 of them made it over 5,000 views, which I've got to admit is one of the reasons why I just don't talk about the girl that much anymore. She's not getting on the top 100 most influential people from Time magazine again anytime soon. I know what you're thinking. Well, at least she didn't have that much effect on video games, right? Well, that's until you take a look at, say, Battlefield 5, a World War II first-person shooter, where you've got a handicapped woman, because women with cyborg arms were instrumental in World War II. And it's also kind of funny to read through the wiki page, which kind of tries to defend this bullshit, claiming that women played roles in World War II. Yeah, sure they did. They were instrumental on the home front, making stuff, which is absolutely critical in any modern war, in the part of any war machine. But they weren't frontline soldiers. Hell, the closest they got to combat in England was manning the searchlights. And in Russia, where it was a much more real life and death struggle, women made it into real combat, manning anti-aircraft guns, and maybe most famously, as snipers, where by all reports, they were damn good.
One of the deadliest snipers of the Second World War, with 309 confirmed kills, the famous Russian sniper, Lyudmila Pavlichenko. The massive German advance into Russia afforded her ample targets, and she was a deadly shot.
Nonetheless, one of the things you didn't get on the Western Allies front line was badass women soldiers, especially badass women soldiers with robotic arms. Or if it's a prosthetic arm from World War II, one that somehow magically allows you the strength to club people to death with it.
Hello, old friend.
That being said, I'm not entirely sure this is the creeping hand of progressivism, or something like that. I see this as more an oversaturated market, where you've got to do something to stand out. Because yeah, it's not like there's a shortage of first-person shooters out there. And sure, yeah, a first-person shooter where you can gun down hundreds, thousands of enemy soldiers. Historical accuracy might take a bit of a backseat here. That being said, setting a female protagonist in a World War II first-person shooter is dumb on so many levels. As are British soldiers with katanas and Churchill tanks ramming buildings. Hell, the only thing that's missing here is commie Nazi ninjas to make it a truly historic World War II game. maybe the marketing is correct. Battlefield will never be the same again. But it's a fascinating question which I'd love to hear your opinion on. Do you see this as progressivism in games, or is this just someone trying to make something interesting in an oversaturated market? I mean, all of this notwithstanding, there are a lot of first-person shooters out there, and I'm still happy playing Unreal Tournament 2004. It's a fair game where everyone gets the same weapons, no perks, nothing to unlock. Old school rules, first person to die loses. So where were we? Oh yeah, Sarkeesian wanting another $35,000, which I gotta stress, in the end, they got. I just accept that folks find matters that they believe in far more worthy of throwing money at than the sort of stuff that I try to focus on.
Televangelist Jesse Duplantis says God himself told him it's time for an upgrade.
He said, I want you to believe me for a Falcon 7X. So I said, okay. Now people say, my Lord, can't you go with this one? Yes, but I can't go at one stop. And you see, if I can do it with one stop, I can fly it for a lot cheaper because I have my own fuel farm. And that's what's a blessing of the Lord.
The two have commiserated about how they can't fly or pray with commercial airline passengers.
This dope-filled world,
Right.
and get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right, that's exactly the
And it's deadly.
Oh yeah, these people make a lot more money than me. And at this point, you might think I'm just bitter that they're getting more money than me. But no, don't get me wrong. I've got no complaints, even though I may not be fighting for feminism or fighting against feminism or hell, fighting for God type money. I do very well out of this, especially seeing as I never went into it to make money in the first place. I mean, when I first started on YouTube, I went for 5 years without making a single cent off YouTube. Effectively, I was subsidizing the whole venture off the back of a postdoc salary, which is about $40,000 per year. And if you'd have told me back then that within 10 years I would have 1 year where I would spend that much money alone buying scientific equipment, I would have just laughed at you. And so would everyone else, because back then it was called e-begging.
I cannot fucking believe it. I cannot fucking believe it. Thunderfoot has stooped to an all-time low. He has stooped to a low that I never thought he would stoop to. Not in my wildest dreams. We all know Thunderfoot has gone full retard recently. Not recently, over the past couple of years he's been going full retard. And it's just been getting worse and worse. He has now stooped to a new low of e-whoring, of e-begging. And for what? For what? For a fucking infrared camera for himself. For bullshit cameras for himself. I never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that he would stoop to this fucking low. What a fucking douchebag.
And it was a sign that you're a worthless sellout, worthy of scorn of everyone who didn't actually make money out of YouTube. But the bottom line is I now have access to research-grade equipment. All thanks to YouTube, and I couldn't have done it without your support, because YouTube's kind of flaky when it comes to the ad revenue, especially for a guy with as many enemies as myself, to the point where, and I kid you not, this is completely real, the video where all I did was heat platinum up to white heat and let it cool down again, that video got demonetized as being inappropriate for advertisers. I mean, you just gotta roll your eyes at this stuff. All the same, I'm proud of what I've managed to do with your support. Indeed, I'm not actually sure what I would do with any more of it. I have a $15,000 high-speed camera, but don't actually own a car. And I'm okay with that. Those are my priorities. That's what I care about. So for me, I just find it a little weird. And I just sit here in disbelief as what all these political activists actually need the money for. I mean, take for instance Jorgen Peterson, who pulls in somewhere in the order of $1 million a year through Patreon. And that's just his Patreon. The guy still has a professorship at Toronto University, which means his Patreon alone is pulling in about 10 times what I get in total for everything. And I consider myself well-funded almost beyond belief. Well-funded enough that I've managed to almost fully set up a lab. And what does he deliver for it? What does he need that money for? Creating lectures about profound psychological ideas?
So people often ask me, do you believe in God? Which I don't like that question. First of all, it's an attempt to box me in a sense.
Or it could just be someone who's interested to know if you believe in God or not. I mean, what question would you expect them to ask?
And the reason that it's an attempt to box me in is because the question is asked so that I can be firmly placed on one side of a binary argument.
Well, far be it from me to tell a clinical psychologist how to answer a question. But if someone asks you if you believe in God or not, you can say maybe, or kinda, or maybe give your position on the spectrum, or
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
And the reason I don't like to answer it is because A, I don't like to be boxed in, and B, because I don't know what the person means by believe or God.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
And they think they know. And the probability that they construe belief and construe God the same way I do is virtually zero. So it's a question that doesn't work for me on multiple levels of analysis. But strangely enough, just as we were talking, the answer to that question popped into my head. I act as if God exists.
cool, a simple answer. You act as if God exists. Which God? Thor? Loki? The grey space vegetable?
Now you can decide for yourself whether that means that I believe in him, so to speak.
Enough! I am a god, you dull creature.
Hey, Jorgen, I might not be in the $1 million a year range, but when someone asks me a question as simple as, do I believe in God? I say no. I don't waffle on for 5 minutes about it all depends on what you mean by what. You know, kind of the same way I don't need 5 minutes of profound rambling when someone asks me if I believe in Santa. You know, I don't like to get boxed into a binary. And do they mean the same thing by, do I believe in Santa, as they mean?
This is why I have such frustration, say, with people like Sam Harris, the sort of radical atheists.
Yeah, of course. Being able to answer a simple question with a simple answer makes you a radical.
Because they seem to think that once human beings abandon their grounding in the transcendent, that the plausible way forward is with a kind of purist rationality that automatically attributes to other people equivalent value. It's like, I just don't understand that. They believe that that's the rational pathway. What the hell is irrational about me getting exactly what I want from every one of you whenever I want it at every possible second? Why is that irrational? And how possibly is that more irrational than us cooperating so we can both have a good time of it?
Oh dear God, this isn't even William Lane Craig levels of wannabe philosopher. Hell, this isn't even not understanding the most simple things about mankind levels of ignorance. Like, say, for instance, why cooperation is generally better than trying to screw over every person you meet in a social interaction. Here, let me explain why being selfish in a society is bad, Jorgen. Reciprocation is one of the simplest and most effective strategies in evolution, most notably in social species like humans. The basic gist is, if you act like a jerk to me, I'll act like a jerk to you. Reciprocation. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's a common feature in social mammals, not just the ones who believe in Middle Eastern gods.
Vulcan has the rock, but can't reach the nuts. Virgil has the nuts, but knows he can't eat them without a rock. He must hope Virgil is smart enough to open the lid and fair enough to cut him in on the spoils. With Vulcan out of reach, it must be tempting to take the lot. 3 nuts, a fair share.
So, Jorgen, if you really don't understand why in a civilization where your viability and prospects depend explicitly on the people around you, and that how acting like a jerk at the expense of everyone else will promptly make you a social exile, I'm not so sure I can help you much.
What the hell is irrational about me getting exactly what I want from every one of you whenever I want it at every possible second?
I mean, Christ, this is Ray Comfort levels of understanding morality. You know, where if I didn't believe in God, why shouldn't I go around raping and killing people?
Yeah, well, Al, you know, I do good works not to merit God's forgiveness. It's because I've been forgiven.
And I do good works because I am part of a society, and those good works are, if you like, reciprocated by that society.
Yeah, but as I said...
In other words, if you had... let me give you this hypothetical. If there was no God, would you still do good work?
Of course not. I'd be out surfing. I'd be living a selfish life.
Whatever. Good luck to the guy. I might only get a tiny fraction of what these guys do. But the simple reality is, if I want to spend a few $1,000s making a video, it's something I don't have to worry about too much. And after that, my only constraint is making time. And all the money in the world won't get me any more of that. And even at that, I don't get greedy about this, which is one of the reasons why I only put about half of the videos into the Patreon supported feed. Because for some opinion piece like this, I can't conscionably ask people to fund me to the tune of a couple of $1,000s. That being said, God, does it piss me off to see people throwing money at idiots like this.
A Falcon 7 jet like this one to preach to more people around the world. And he's asking his followers for the $54 million.
I really believe that if Jesus was physically on the earth today, he wouldn't be riding a donkey.